biology, students are expected to achieve at least a grade 6 or above if they have studied triple science and a biology GCSE, a standalone biology GCSE, or a 6-6 for a double award GCSE. The students are also required to achieve at least a grade 6 in maths GCSE. The mathematics elements of the A-level course are actually really difficult, and AQAs and exam board have made them deliberately more difficult in the last few years. Practical work plays a really key role in any of the A-level sciences. Students will carry out practical work as often as possible within lessons. There's 12 required practicals that they have to complete during the course, and the completion of these has to be logged and tracked, and we often do this as a practical write-up work. The practical write-ups may be scaffolded at the beginning of the course, so students get a feel for what a write-up should look like, but hopefully by the end of the course they should be able to write the write-ups by themselves, as this is a really good skill for university. Within the exam papers, at least 15% of the marks are for practical-based questions, and the required practicals can pop up in these practical-based questions. So it's really important that they complete the practicals and take note of the content within the practicals. The assessment of A-level biology is entirely exam-based. So the students will sit 3 2-hour exams at the end of the 2-year course. So paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3. Paper 1 assesses topics 1 to 4, paper 2 assesses topics 5 to 8, and paper 3 assesses all topics plus practical skills. There is a 25-mark essay in paper 3, and the students get a choice of 2 titles that they can write their essay on. Paper 3 also has lots of practical-based questions. Paper 1 and 2 do as well, but there's more practical-based questions in paper 3 from the required practicals that I discussed in the previous slide. The link there is to the biology specification if you want to have a look at it in more detail. QA A-level biology is assessed entirely at the end of the 2-year course. However, at WSO, we internally assess the students at a number of points throughout that 2-year course. So they will be given half-termly assessments, which are usually cumulative, so they will cover everything that the students have learnt so far. This helps them to retain the knowledge so that by the end of year 13, they have been tested numerous times on each of the topics, so that should help them with revision. They'll also be given an end of year 12 mock exam, obviously during the May-June time of year 12, and a year 13 mock exam as well. The mock exams help us to both assess the students and to formulate predicted grades, which are important for university applications. Students start the A-level biology course or flick through the A-level biology book, they'll see that there's lots of topics that they've covered previously in GCSE. So what the A-level does is it builds on previous knowledge and prior content from GCSE, and the students soon realise that what they did at GCSE, they just scraped the surface, and actually there's a whole lot more to know. The concepts are actually more complex, and there's a lot more key terminology that they're required to know. Within the content that we cover in year 13, or the A-level content, some of this might be a bit newer to the students and they haven't done this before. So things like they will study epigenetics in much more detail. They'll look at some more complex mathematics and statistics that are used within biology. They also look at populations in more detail. So there's things that they won't have seen before and things that they maybe didn't realise had a lot more detail within them. With regards to exam questions, the exam questions are the only thing along with the specification that we get from the exam board. So we can't emphasise enough how important the past exam questions are to the students. We try and use past exam questions in most lessons, whether it be just a couple of short answer questions or whether it be a slightly longer comprehension style question. And it's really important that the students take on board the feedback that they get from exam questions and also learn to use the mark schemes. Often the students think that we give them the mark schemes to mark their own work so that we don't have to. But actually, the ability to use the mark schemes and looking at the mark schemes that the examiners have given us over a long period of time develops their skills massively. So exam questions are really important, both within lessons and within revision. And also, when the AQA A-level biology specification was updated in 2015, there was a real emphasis on the mathematical requirements, and the level of maths has shot up, and the students are expected to have some really strong math skills. So it's really important that the students gain the 6 in GCSE maths to get onto the course, and then practice the maths elements. We often do a calculation question at the beginning of lessons, just so that students are looking at the different skills that they need in order to be able to complete the questions. Within the A-level biology teaching, we expect students to be able to work both independently and collaboratively within groups. We encourage the use of inquiry-based learning, whereby students have to find out information and find out answers for themselves, as opposed to the teacher telling them information or telling them answers. This actually helps them to remember the information as well. We use lots of online simulations and virtual labs. So this helps us to collect data quite quickly, and then we can we focus on things like analysis and evaluation skills, if the focus isn't during that lesson on the practical skills. Obviously, the practical lab work, we've spoken previously about the required practicals. We do the 12 required practicals as well as numerous other practicals within the course. On the previous slide, I also spoke about the importance of past exam questions. Research skills are also really important, and often the students don't know how to successfully research specific topics on the internet. So we look at, early on in the course, at research skills and how to find the information that is actually relevant to you. And this is also a really useful skill for when they move on to university. There's also flipped learning. So flipped learning is where students find or students teach themselves the information, and then outside of the lessons, and then within the lessons, what we can do is we can use and apply that information. So they do the easy work at home by learning key terminology and basic concepts, and then within the lessons we apply that knowledge to unknown scenarios, or we use that knowledge in order to answer really difficult exam questions, or we use it within specific tasks and activities. And it actually means that within the lessons, we can go deeper into the content rather than spending a lot of time within lessons just learning the basics.